Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I thought it would be a good time with just under a week to go until the BBL season starts to go through the biggest mistakes or traps that beginner SuperCoach players and sometimes more experienced SuperCoach BBL players make, and how we can really avoid them and set up our season mitigating a lot of the luck scenarios that occur. There will still be a lot of volatility, but we can minimize that risk as much as possible with these strategies and get you guys to the rank that you want for the start of the season. But before we jump into it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so that you know when I upload, and let's jump into this video. So firstly, I just want to continue plugging that Discord channel where you will see a lot of content in terms of video links here. And then you'll also see as well the SuperCoach chat there as well. But anyway, let's jump into these. And I just have a list of things to go through that a lot of beginners make these mistakes and how we can avoid them and better our results. So first one that you kind of make a mistake is, and I'll give these examples of players that fit into these categories along the video as we go, is the name trap. This is the players that are just extremely expensive. For this year, the main guys that I'm looking at that fall into this category are the likes of a Maxwell or a Short, to a certain extent as well, a Cooper Connolly. And so there's that. And these guys are ones that we really need to watch out for and not pick them, because their value is going to be in the later rounds when they are on the double, and once they've had their double, they're going to be on singles then, and that's where we can really get the value out of them, because we know double game weeks are so valuable. So these guys as well that are really high priced, like even a Mark Steckity, if he was actually available, obviously we know now that he's not, but guys that score really well one year and don't really score the next, like a Steckity, I'd suggest probably a Jackson Bird falls into that category as well. And then we're starting to get into guys that I'm like, yeah, they could do it again. Like maybe obviously you got the quality of like a Labuschagne and stuff, guys like that. Maybe a Matt Renshaw falls into that category as well, where they're high priced and you want to go for them early because they're high priced, but sometimes the role just doesn't match. And that's why we really need to look at role, opportunity, and consistency, and really look and hammer down those double game weeks early. Now, the second one is overpaying for international players. And this one really falls down to, obviously, the highest international players are the 152s. So this one looks at guys like a Babar Azam, guys like a Mohammad Rizwan, Shaheen Sharafridi, and looking at them going, are they really true value if they are a one facet player? Or are they just a guy that you're hoping pops off early and then you can move on? Because there's been a lot of toing and froing of like Babar Azam. Is he true value? Is he going to be able to adapt early? Because they really can struggle sometimes in Australian conditions, because they're so different to, say, the Pakistan conditions. Obviously, a lot of these Pakistanis are going to be leaving mid-tournament. And so they also, some of them have other commitments, like Sam Curran. Obviously, Ravi Ashwin's out for the year, but you can just see how that works there. And then just scrolling down a little bit more to get down to these 117Kers, international, Hassan Ali, Luke Wood, Colin Munro, Rian Ahmed, Rashad Hussain, who else? David Payne is also one, Shadab Khan, Reece Topley, are all international players. Are they valuable at their price, or are they just really inflated? And most of these fall into this category of overpriced internationals are the batter only guys, because they can really just be so to and fro and really have a bad season. I remember David Warner starting a 152K and I think ending up the season in the mid 70s, just because he's averaged 15 across about 5 innings. So there's that for overpaying international guns. And then the tip three is chasing last season's points. We know that guys like Mitch Owen had a really good finals campaign. Mark Steckity, I guess, in a way. All these overpriced guys, in a way. It is very similar to point one, that you are looking at those either the really well-known names like a Glenn Maxwell or Matt Short, or the guys like a Steckity who scored really well at the back end of the year. Another guy that probably would have fallen into that category had he not been injured would have been a Spencer Johnson, but I mean, they do have the schedule there. A Jason Behrendorff probably falls into this category as well as the likes of a Will Sutherland or a Tom Rogers, just because they scored pretty well last year, and will probably back it up, but it will be later on in the year that they'll be valuable. And there's also guys that may lose their role, like Matt Short may lose a couple of overs this year just because of the extra bowlers in the Adelaide lineup, we suspect. Mitch Owen might actually pick up some overs. Cooper Connolly will probably pick up some overs. And then also just the change in conditions for Behrendorff, and also that potential impact it has on Sutherland and Rogers there, given that the likes of Behrendorff should be opening with the new pill you would expect for the Renegades. And now, the biggest one, the absolute utmost biggest tip I can give you is look at the fixture. Now, I should have, being smart, just had grabbed up the fixture on my the spreadsheet that I have. So let me quickly do that here so that I can actually show you what has been the big plan for this whole season. And there it is there. So let me grab that back for you guys there. So this whole season, this whole preseason can be whittled down to this fixture right here. The biggest tip, absolute biggest tip I can give you is planning your doubles. Now, this is the initial side that I had, and I've been tinkering around with this just slightly, and I think currently the side looks, I want to say it's one more here and then another. No, probably, no, that is 3, so that'll be 4, and I want to say this is 6 here. So 6, and then something like that. Let me actually check what it is exactly for me currently, because this will show you what I mean. 1, 2, 3, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 and 4, and then there's so there's 7 guys here. I think it's that currently is my side. And this is how I'm basically going to look at in the first 3 weeks here, and look at all the doubles that I'm collecting. And you'll see down here as well that this is the double counter, counting all the doubles in here, and it's at 61 doubles. I've seen a lot of teams that burn an extra renegade or a striker player, and I can tell you right now that is probably over the course of the year, depending on trades and all that, it's probably going to burn maybe 4, 6 scoring opportunities across that, which means that already you're limiting yourself by, with that 144 that I have down here as the max, down to a 138. So I'm getting, 6 more scoring opportunities. If they average 40 a game, then that is the likes of actually, if you think about it, it actually is only 3 scoring opportunities. So I'm still gaining an extra 120 points over the course of the year if they average 40 expected score. So 120 points in the season alone, just based on fixture scheduling, if you just put an extra renegades or an extra striker in, basically, is the pickup that you can make quite easily. And if you can trade effectively, be willing to hold players through their through their bye, I should say, in preparedness for their upcoming doubles, like this Melbourne Stars, this Sydney Sixers double bye, this Hobart Hurricanes bye, and this further Sydney Sixers bye, then that's where you're going to really pick up points. You're going to find that you'll probably end up having 7 or 8 double game weeks more players than some other teams, and 7 or 8 is somewhere around 300 points. And I can tell you 300 points is massive. That's going to be hundreds of places, I can tell you. So that's really what you need to look at there. And there's 2 ways to look at this, though. And this is why, yes, you can overload in this scenario early. I don't think this year's unique in that the Hobart Hurricanes do have the 1 and 3 split here, which really does help them out in terms of not overloading early, but not getting punished for it, in that you're overloading, getting the 11 on the double in this round, you're getting the 11 on the double in this round, but you're also still getting 7 here. So you're already up to, where is it? I should have probably actually done this in terms of how many doubles I'm getting on each round, but you can see 11 in this round, 7 on this, 11 in this, 3, 5, 6, 8, 4, 6. So you can see the absolute how many we're getting on these rounds. And yeah, that's where you're getting the early ones. You're getting 28 in the first 3, but you're still, and that is 28 through, I think there's also saving a trade somewhere in here, and not actually getting, not actually using the secondary boost somewhere in here, if my memory serves me correct. In this round as well, you can see that I've not actually gone straight on to the double game week teams, but I'm doing it in preparedness to get maximize my doublers here. But anyway, enough said. The emphasis on the doubles cannot be understated for people that are new. So the next one is probably the hardest one to do, and it takes a lot of research, preparedness, remembering what happened last year, looking at scorecards and all this. And one thing I will say is, if you can understand the Surrey cricket team's cricket dynamics and their T20 squad, you're going to be so far ahead of the rest. And that's what I'll say about Jamie Overton and Sam Curran, and how I was able to, at least with Jamie Overton, be like, yeah, this is what it's going to be, and knew what his role was going to be, how he's going to play, etc. So that's something I pride myself on, is the being able to read these international players' roles. And that is something that's huge in preseason. So yeah, just being able to pick, and then who's going to bowl the 4, who's going to bowl in those key areas. Like I was saying with the Ellis Meredith Jordan combination for the players and where they're going to bowl in terms of death, power play, power surge, you want to be hitting all 10 of those overs in the first round for both sides. If you can do that for Hobart and the Sydney Sixers, you're going to get the most bowling points, or create the biggest expected score from bowling if you are hitting those 10 overs. Yes, obviously they could bowl someone random, but if you're going to hit 9 or 10, that is best case scenario. And that's what we want to be doing. And therefore I've made my selections accordingly. And we also want to be paying up for all-rounders, because we know all-rounders score well. We know Matt Short, we know Glenn Maxwell, we know Marcus Stoinis in his heyday has done well. We know Mitch Marsh has done really well. We know Sean Abbott, Ben DeWalshis, who can hold the willow, have done really well in the past. Just to name a few names. You can even look at Jamie Overton and the likes of Cooper Connolly last year, and also Aaron Hardy a couple of years ago. All of the top scorers are basically going to be all-rounders in a certain sense, and they're also going to be damn good fielders. So the next one is actually one that I think is less necessary this year, and that's just based on pricing, but it's the cheapie trap and going for these really, I guess, youngsters, rookies that are potentially going to break into the side. I don't think it's that necessary this year, because if I just go and set this below sort of 98k, 99k, you'll see all the options like Nessa, who should play eventually, Finn Allen, Marley Beardman, even the likes of a Cam Bancroft, a Benny McDermott, a Hassan Khan's probably going to do well, a Jason Sanger at that price I really like, a Matt Kuderman, and Aaron Hardy, Fraser McGurk's probably going to fire, Joe Clark's also a really good option at that price, and Nathan McAndrew, Mitch Swepson. All of these guys are pretty much nailed on for they're going to play. They're going to play every single game, and they're going to fire because they've done it before. They're about 20 points underpriced on, at least on their best seasons, if not 30 or 40. I'm looking at you, Aaron Hardy, and Michael Nisa, and therefore they're going to do really well. And we don't have to look at these 58.5s or the 39.5s that we've had to in the past. So that's what I'm really looking at and just going, there's value here to be had. And that's where I think the value is going to be had, is in these sort of 60 to 100k value options, and just picking the right ones. Even a Jack Wildermuth, with the injury crisis that they've got there, I think is a really, really good value option, and a guy that I may trade in round 2 just so I can get the other big guys that I don't currently have. Because as we know, yes, looping is great, but if we don't have enough cash generation and we don't have the right players and we don't have access to another doubler, we are burning points and cash, and that comes back to bite us in the back end of the season when you've got those buys that really help with the looping, and you really don't need that that loop player in general. Then tip number 7 is the likes of burning those boosts early. Some of us will potentially go a boost round 1, boost round 2, and suddenly you're down to 3 trades and you're like, oh, I've got some cash in going. That's a good thing. But secondary, I don't actually have the doubles. I'm really burning doubles to other guys. Other of the top players will have access to those extra doubles in the last couple rounds, and suddenly instead of you having with you 5 or 6 doubles in the final couple rounds each round, they'll have 7 or 8, and then they'll also be able to have the extra guys on the really good guys on the singles, and that's where those extra couple of trades can be really maneuverable. So yes, you need to look for cash gen, but you also need to still be targeting the double game weeks. And so those trades, it is really critical of nailing each and every trade and really have a purpose behind your boosts. Is your boost going to be, let's restructure my side to get that extra double game week and resort it because I can get 2 double game weeks instead of 0 or 1? Or is it going to be because I can get a cash generator in that I know is going to score well, and I'm not just hoping will score well because they've done it once? And then tip number, I believe this is 8 now, is captaining the right type of player. A lot of people will just captain a batsman, and that could go well. That they can obviously score well. They've scored hundreds and stuff like that. They can score well with Steve Smith do it. The problem is that they can obviously score a dud score. We've seen captains score zeros and stuff like that. And I believe this year, if my memory serves me, there's going to be a doubler on every round. That makes it a lot easier to captain because you're just looking for the all-rounder, the bowler, or the batter in that order on the double. So that makes that a lot easier. But you can still see that some people will probably just captain a one-facet player, and that player could obviously still score well, but you're limiting your score involvements for the round, as the good old Andrew Langley has, I guess, tagged himself on that line, the score involvements. So we really want to just be maximizing double game week players that are multifaceted, whether that be bat, bowl, field, and really get those gun players that are doing multiple, because that's where the gap is going to be made there. Then the next tip number 9, I believe, is the emotional picks. A lot of people will just trade out a player because, they score badly one round. Say, let's just do some thought process. Say the Sydney Thunder round 1, they have a stinker. They get rolled for 20, very similar to their 15 all out a couple years ago. And you go, I don't want this player, this player, this player. Well, they've got their double upcoming. You don't just trade out a player because they had a bad performance. Yes, it will suck. They'll probably lose a little bit of cash, but they'll bounce back most likely in their double. And what you're trying to do is load up as much as you can on expected score, in my personal opinion. And that is done through double game weeks and maximizing double game weeks. So we really don't want to trade out someone like a Melbourne Stars player because they've got their double in round 3. And we don't want to trade out a Perth Scorcher player because they've got their double in round 1 if they've had one bad performance, because their double is upcoming. They can catch it back up. They can swing it around. They could bowl. They could go none for 50 one week, but then take 3 for 30 on the next. And suddenly you're looking at a guy that's put up an 80 or 90 score. So that's what we're really looking at. And you're really trying to trade around doubles rather than trade around performance. The limited times that you trade around performance is on cash generation. And bringing in the cash generator, because you're not really going to be trading out a guy that's burning through a lot of cash unless they've done through their double. So that's very rare that actually happens, that they burn through cash, a lot of cash on their double. So yeah, if you're trading in for cash reasons, you're trading in a cash generator rather than trading out a cash loss. But anyway, on to the next tip, and one of the tips that will probably become very, very I guess, noticeable, especially in early January, is weather. Like, Sydney play a game in Coffs Harbour, and it is notorious for being rained out. They also have games at the NG Stadium that are notorious for being rained out. So you got to look at weather, but then in the same facet, you also have to look at the stadium that they're playing at. We know Perth is a flat track that's speedy and pacey, so that's going to be really good for batters. Then we also know that the likes of Ninja Stadium is really tiny, or at least it feels like it. So that's really good for, as well as Adelaide Oval, is really good for square boundary hitters. That's why Matt Short's done really well in the past. MCG is a mega ground, so spinners actually tend to be able to get a lot of miscue catches. So that's why we think, comparative to the Gabba, someone like a Mitch Swepson is really good. And then you've got, what other stadium do we have here? I think I mentioned all of them. Monica as well, a little bit slow and low, so that will probably help out the subcontinent players if they end up playing in there at all. And then we also know the likes of Marvel and GMHBA are really hazardous decks and really profitable for the quicks there. So that's why Fergus O'Neill has done really well in the past there, and the likes of Tommy Rogers. And so it's a big watch on the likes of Jason Berendorf in those ones. Now, one thing that got me while I was overseas, and I just missed it, was the late news. Lockie Shaw was a local replacement player and actually was named in the squad, and then there was an injury news or whatever, or just he just flat out played, and I had the captaincy on him, so I burned through like 180 points that round. So that is critical that you actually are able to look at the 11s and check who's playing, because we'll have obviously teams, games are being played, especially sometimes in a double up fashion. Like, you've got 7-15s throughout the first round, then in round 2, 7-15s throughout the round as well, just on consecutive nights. But round 3, a 6:05 into a 9:05 on Boxing Day, and then a 7-15s across the board, and then further 7-15s across the board until New Year's Day, where you've got a 4 into a 7-15. So there's a couple of double ups there, and then further 7-15s, and then a 6:05 and a 9:15 on the 4th. And then also on the 5th, this is where I'm really concerned here. 6s on the double, but they've got Coffs Harbour game, 7-15, 7-15s across the board in round 6. So you can see that there's only a couple of double ups. Here's probably a nasty round, is that you've got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday games on the 10th and the 11th, where you've got a lot of games. You've got 6 games in, 3 days? Is it? Yeah, you've got 2 double ups back to back, so that's 5 games in 3 days. So those are the type of rounds that go by so quickly, and you just got to wait and watch really hard on the bowlers and the teams that are named, and sort of put them into, I guess, categories of players, and where they're going to their roles and stuff like that, and really pick out who's going to be the 4 bowlers that are probably going to bowl 4, who are going to be the 5th and the 6th option, and are they going to split overs, how's the split going to go, etc., and really work on those death, power surge, power play overs, and trying to figure out who's there and who's going to open batting, who's going to bat 4, who's going to be the sort of guy that knocks around, doesn't get the strike rate bonus. Those are the things that you really got to look at there, and then also just late outs and everything like that. Just got to move on players if possible if they are late outs and stuff. Setting and forgetting team too early. So, I mean, this one is, I guess none of us really do this, because obviously names are put in the Australian squad, a la Michael Nisa. There's guys that are injured. There's international players that come and go. There's international tournaments that pop up and stuff like that. I'm looking at you, Pakistan. So that's why we really need to just adjust accordingly. Continue looking at starting lineups, continue looking at the guys available, and trying to piece together best 11s, because that's the best way we're going to be able to observe and be able to change our teams accordingly. And so those are all the tips. I believe there was 12 or 11 tips in there for you newer guys that are out there, and us experienced guys, because sometimes we tend to forget and think that we are better than we actually are. But anyway, that is the video there, going through all of the mini tips that you should have in your armory before BBL SuperCoach starts, and I guess in general across BBL as we go through the year. But if you guys did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so that you know when I upload. Remember to jump on the Discord as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.